Welcome to part 2 of this 5-part series where we go over every single plant that we're growing at our nursery along with growing tips. Whether you are a beginner or an advanced gardener, we thought this would be helpful so that you guys can get some grower tips along with just varieties that we recommend that do really well for us and that we grow on a commercial setting. For those of you that are new, my name is Sebastian, and along with my wife, we own Set Apart Farm and Gardens, which is an online nursery. We're located in Fountain Inn, South Carolina, which is Zone 8A. Without further ado, let's get into all the cut flower varieties. Let's go into cut flowers. I feel like some people like to plant cut flowers. Some people don't know a ton about them. The first one and newest one that we added this year, Silver Dollar Eucalyptus. This is the quicker growing eucalyptus. The other one, Baby Blue, I believe, is a slower growing. But this one we will treat here technically as an annual. It's zones 9 to 11. But we will treat it as an annual because you do have to protect it quite a decent amount in the winter time for it to overwinter. I do know some people, and a friend had a neighbor that has a eucalyptus tree. We would harvest some of the leaves to make wreaths and things and decorations for our wellness center, and I loved it. This variety is beautiful for cut flower arrangements. One plant will probably end up getting 4, maybe 5 feet by the end of the season. You should have a decent amount of cuttings from it, but if you want, like, the beautiful picture that we have on the website, if you want something like quite a lot for cut flowers, get about 2 or 3 maybe, if not more, just to be able to have a giant bouquet that you can cut from. Some people like the plant and it looks so beautiful they don't want to cut from it, so give yourself options there. The next one that we're carrying that's new for us this year is the Camelot Mix. Camelot Mix, if you plant this from seed, you'll actually get blooms the first year. These will be planted from seed first year and then we'll be selling them at the nursery. So you won't get them, they'll be in, this one is a 4-inch pot, by the way, and the other one is a 4-inch too. They'll just be foliage, and then by the time you plant them, they'll bloom eventually. On a few, can't remember their bloom time, but it won't be that long by the time they bloom. But anyway, this one's a beautiful mix: white, purples, cream, lavender, rose, so on and so forth. Foxglove, excellent plant if you have deer issues and all that. Eucalyptus also, the deer don't bother it. Next is the zinnias. Everybody loves a good zinnia. Even if you don't like a zinnia, there's a color that you got to find that you could like, because who's not to like a zinnia? I love it. They're easy. They're deer resistant. We do have issues with deer here. So often if we have zinnias just anywhere, they don't touch them. They don't like them. They don't eat them. The Bennery Giant, they're beautiful big blooms. Often they're just 3-inch across, really, and maybe even bigger. It says here, densely petaled blooms up to 6 inches across. That's crazy. I don't remember seeing a 6-inch one, but they do get big. And this one comes in all colors. This is the mix. And it's a 6-pack. So it's the reds and the purples and whites and yellows and anywhere in between. The next one that is new for us this year that somebody suggested for us to grow, and I'm glad they did, because it is a zinnia that's disease resistant, and it's also dwarf. So technically you could use this as a border landscape plant. Not necessarily the best cut flower because it is dwarf, so the stems are going to be short. So if you want cut flower zinnias, get the cut flower, the taller ones. But the dwarf, this one is dwarf double Zahara, however you say that, raspberry ripple zinnia. And it just makes a carpet of beautiful zinnias. And actually from a distance, they don't look like zinnias. They're smaller and they're prolific. They're disease resistant. They're tough. You could get through probably most of the summer without them just kind of fading out, but they're disease resistant. And most people have mentioned that they do not ever see that kind of that fungus or blight, I guess, that these zinnias get typically at the end of the season. It's just something with zinnias, but the blooms are still beautiful, so we just strip the leaves off. But the Zahara, you don't have to deal with that. The next one is Double Click Mix Cosmos. We always carry this variety. They get huge, beautiful colors, very cottage garden-like. So if you are after that look, kind of a wilder, less structured type of look, you can't go wrong with Cosmos. Don't be surprised though if they get 3, sometimes even 4 feet. They get big. They have the wispy leaves, and it's kind of just, it's fun. They look great in a mass planting, but don't be surprised because they are tall. The next one is Durango Mix Marigold. beautiful mixes of reds and yellows and orange and anywhere in between. Looks like fire, but marigolds, it's really about the color, but it has all the properties of a marigold. You could also use them for medicinal purposes, the marigolds, but use them for deer, use them for pests. The next one that I'm going to talk about, flashback mix calendula. Sometimes people pronounce it calendula, which makes me think of the water boy, medulla oblongata. Anyway, flashback mix calendula, beautiful tones of color that I thought if we carried this one it'd be really fun, because typically calendula will come in either just your bright orange, sometimes a little yellow. They have different colors, but this one seemed like a fun mix. Also can be used in balms, salves, things like that medicinally, which is excellent. Next is rocket mix snapdragons. These will bloom throughout the summer. They may peter out, but then they'll also grow back in the fall too. Snapdragons are excellent, super hardy, just easy to grow. They get tall. Sometimes you'll see them get so tall that they'll kind of bend. So you may want to stake them. The next one is giant hybrid dahlia mix. These will be the nice dahlias that they're not the dinner plate, which I love, but if you want to use them as cut flowers and not have such a diva of a plant or of a flower, and you want to intermix it with other things, this one is excellent. Now, we have 3 mixes here of wildflowers. I'll kind of breeze through these because they're similar but different. We have a butterfly and hummingbird mix. Some of these in the mix, I put the list of what is in there. I think Coreopsis, there's a few, I can't remember. It's like 15 plus plants. Some do come back every year, and these do tend to reseed themselves. So if you want a cottage and a wildflowery garden, you can plant these, and you might notice that they'll reseed and come back every year, which is super fun. Wildflowers tend to do that. It does encourage, they're plants specifically mixed for butterfly and hummingbird attracting. And also there's another one called Beneficial Insects Wildflower Mix. This one I do recommend to plant near plants that have a lot of bloom, like zucchini, for example, that they need pollination, or cucumbers, or tomatoes. Anything that needs more pollinators, often, it just depends. Sometimes I found that people live in neighborhoods, and a lot of the neighborhoods, they're spraying some chemicals of sorts on the outside or this and that, and the bee population is a little less, so you need to attract it some more. So beneficial insect, wildflower mix, excellent to do that with, but really a lot of flowers will be attractants of different things, butterflies, hummingbird, so on and so forth. The next one is the Pollinator Shade Wildflower Mix. You guys slept on this one last year. We did not have a ton of sales for that one, but I think because people didn't understand it. And you can get it from Johnny's, the mix. It was stunning. It was one of our favorite wildflower mixes because it looks like the picture, but in person it's more beautiful because those poppies were everywhere. And it had some like the little blue flowers. I can't remember. Not campanula. It had a bunch. I can't remember exactly. It had also echinacea in there. A lot of things that came back for us, but it just made this beautiful, it really shined in the shade. And you can plant it in the shade, and it also attracts pollinators. Most wildflowers do. But if you're looking for that cottage look, but more in a shaded area, and you want wildflowers, the pollinator one is excellent. So if you can find the seeds, or if you're local, you can get it as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys at part 3 where we chat about all of the herbs that we're carrying and varieties along with growing tips on every variety. We do sell within a 50-mile radius, so if you're local, you can either pick up, or we also offer local delivery within a 50-mile radius. Feel free to check out the website at setapartfarmandgardens.com. See you then.